Greetings everyone, and welcome to the special podcast conducted by the South Asia Monitor. Today, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Anil K. Rajvanshi sir, a Padma Shri awardee, scientist, engineer, and social entrepreneur, known for his work in sustainable development and rural innovation. An alumnus of IIT Kanpur and University of Florida, he chose to return to India to work as a grassroots level. Since 1981, as the founding director of Nimca Agriculture Research Institute, he has led pioneering work in renewable energy and decentralized technologies for rural communities. Today, he joined us to speak on romance of innovation, the road to Viksit Bharat goes to the rural India. So, sir, you can now present your presentation.
Yeah, just a very short one.
All right.
Uh, More than 60% of our population lives in rural India. This is a fact of life. Until we raise their standard of living and bring them into the mainstream development process, we cannot become Viksit Bharat. Just by you people in urban area and etc., that will not happen. However, if we make this transition in the same unsustainable manner as urban India, then it will be a recipe for disaster. This is the biggest challenge for all of you, whether you're engineers, scientists, technologists, social scientist people. But how do you bring these people up without doing the same nonsense that happens? And that is the way that the urban India has developed and grown. So there is a great challenge for all of us to create a new paradigm of development which keeps our man ki shanti and also gives us a wholesome living standards which are sustainable and environmentally friendly. If I ask all of you, do you have a man ki shanti? It will be very difficult for me to get an answer, yes. And that is where the biggest problem lies. And how do we create a development model? And I have written extensively on that. I have a very thick book on this, a new paradigm of development where spirituality plus technology is equal to happiness, and you can lead that. This was the desire by which I left a very lucrative career in the United States to come and work in rural India in the early 1980s. The work was difficult and the going was tough. My arrogance and foolishness made me leave United States and come back to rural India thinking that I will change India. But India is an ancient civilization and great leaders could not change it. So how could a small fry like me could do it? India did not change, but it changed me. Living and working in rural India taught me humility, spirituality, and sustainability. And that has been the story of my life. And this is what I call also the romance of innovation. Because when you live in this milieu, when you work on the things, when you have the janoon, then you have nothing else but the innovation and the romance of innovation. And we have worked on rural problems that were in front of us. Please read all about our efforts in my book, The Romance of Innovation, which is freely available on the net. In fact, my site where all my books are written up, you can read it, and everything is available free. The challenge is how each one of us can help in nation building and making this country better for ease of living. Ease of living is a word. If I ask each one of you whether you want to live here or not, I think each one of you want to get out of this country. Because all along, wherever I go, in all different institutions, this is what they say. If given an opportunity, would like to leave. And how can you do that? How can you make this country great? By being invested in the story of India. Unfortunately, very few youngsters are really invested. You don't even think about the country. You don't even talk about the country. You don't even know where it is going because you're so much involved in your own small world, which is made from that social media that you do not think and contemplate. And once this happens, then you start changing small things around you or creating better environment and will help improve small benefits. Do not worry about the big picture. In fact, whenever I talk to the youngsters, they all the time talk about big things. You just change 6 foot around uh, your person, and once you do that changes, then things will start happening. And that is what Gandhiji taught us. Be the change that you want to see. You change first yourself, change surroundings, and things will happen. You don't have to talk about how India is interacting with Iran or anything. You just change yourself. So never blame others, but try to do your work ethically and with passion and to the best of your capabilities. And so that is my small talk to all of you. Now I'll be delighted to answer your questions.
Thank you, sir, for introductory remark and introducing us to Romance of Innovation, and thank you for the joining as well. So the first question, sir, I'm having is on Romance of Innovation itself. Sir, when we talk about the romance of innovation, what does it look like when innovation is happening in the villages, away from labs, big funding, and attention? And how does this kind of innovation contribute to building a Viksit Bharat?
भाई देखो ऐसा है कि when I came back, Fulton was a place where I went to one of the best English medium school in Lucknow, the missionary school. Then to that, from there to IIT Kanpur. At the time, it was the number one institute in India, and then to University of Florida, which is now the fifth best university in the public universities in America. So it was and then coming back to Fulton, where to make a long distance call, I would sometimes hop on the bus, go to Pune, which was a 4 hour journey, and make phone call. This was Fulton. You didn't get anything, it was just a village. But there was a tremendous genoon to do something worthwhile with your life. You see, today when I talk to youngsters, when they come in the morning, afternoon, evening, they come and ask me where their career is going. Career does not go any place. You make your career. You should have this much of stability, security, that you solve the problems. You do some wonderful work, and slowly, slowly, the career itself builds up. So that was the romance of innovation. So basically, what the problems were there, huge, and till still today, there are so many huge problems that one person life is not sufficient. In fact, you have to have seven lives to even solve those problems. So the question was, when I came there back, no equipment, no facilities, but a great desire to see how can we make a dent, how can we solve these problems. And slowly, slowly, you started doing it. And the problem solving itself was so intense that we never, at least I never thought, where am I going? In fact, all my colleagues, they were all in the Silicon Valley, etc. They all thought that I was what an idiot I was. And today I'm one of the most decorated among all the IITians. Now they say what happened. I said that nothing happened. Yeah, it can happen to everybody. You just focus on the work. And if you focus on the work, slowly, slowly things build up. What happens is that insecurity that each of you have, the youngsters, oh, what will happen? That is, those insecurities are given to you by your parents, by your peers, so many. You never think yourself. Sit down and think for yourself. What will happen after all? You will survive, you will eat. But if you do something wonderful, meaningful in your life, then it will give you joy and satisfaction. So that is how this romance of innovation started. It is still continuing. Yeah.
So a
Does,
beautiful idea.
does it answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, so absolutely. A beautiful idea indeed.
Uh,
So moving on to the next question, as you have mentioned that nearly 60% of India still lives in rural areas in your introductory remark. So, but most of innovation happens in the cities, the problem which we face in India. So, why do you think this gap exists, and what does it mean for the future of rural India?
See, this is the biggest tragedy. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was invited by the Tatas to address the whole Tata group, so including the chairman and 40 CEOs of their top companies. So there were around 200 people in Taj, and I addressed them. And this is what I told them: how you can be invested in the helping the rural India. And the question is that you see the people who man um, uh, who are the captains of India's industry, they don't have the vision because they all come from urban area. They all are vested in giving the money or the bottom line all the time, looking at money and money. You have to have a vision that you will not survive even in urban area unless and until these people in the rural areas, which the numbers are huge. they are brought up. And so what happens is that you create conditions, you create technologies, you create goods which are useful for urban India, and then they send your salesmen all over the country, and then they start uh, doing it, selling it. Now, any good product, wherever you are in urban area or rural area, if it is useful, it will be taken up. After all, the mobile phone was started in United States or Europe, and now each and every person in rural India has a mobile phone because it has a great utility. Because it nobody said that this is specifically for this. The main thing is that all these things are manufactured in these big factories, which are very energy intensive, which are at certain place. What we need is the resources that we have in rural India, which is sun, wind, biomass, etc. We should utilize it, and things are happening because now when you run your electric vehicle, if you get stuck in Fulton, you'll be. By the way, Fulton has a lot of electric charging stations now, but in the if you go a little further down in the very deep hinterland, you might not get it. And that is what we always feel, that with these resources which are dilute in nature, we should be able to create conditions by which the people in the rural areas also have the similar type of facilities that people have. The thing is that the urban rural areas are also moving in the same direction as urban area. When I came in Fulton, the air was very clean. There was no sound. Very few people. Today it is just like Pune, Bombay. Because I built my house so far away from the town, and now the town has encroached on my house. And so the heavy traffic, and we used to just leave everything open in the old times. It was so quiet. Now there's all over the place lights, all over the place sound. So this is what is happening, and that is what I said in my talk: is that we should not have the development in the same manner as urban India. So things will happen. What we need is to reverse this trend, is to create technologies, is to create solutions which are developed in for rural India and developed in rural India. And then by this process, we may even be able to change. For example, uh, all of you eat, you will not eat software, you will not eat nuts and bolts, but you will eat food. And the food can be grown very easily, what is called as hydroponics. So you can have urban gardening. All these things came from rural India in a limited manner, except that now in rural India, they're also using a lot of sophisticated technologies of greenhouses. Some of these things is a cost. And so these things are continuing, but we should have a very, all of you young people should be vested in the story of India, that come and help with learn everything that you can in your courses, etc., and see what you can do. How many of you have land in rural India? Or you're not, you don't have any agriculture land? Do you have? So why don't you come and do agriculture? It's very good. You live in a good environment, but this is your own life. You have to. Okay, next question.
Indeed. So the next question we have, so I'm particularly very intrigued by the idea which you have opted, that you studied at IIT Kanpur and then you did your PhD in the US, which is a classic global path. So what made you to leave that and return to rural India to focus on a grassroots innovation?
Madness, arrogance. If I was even an iota of intelligence, I would have never come back, because all my classmates are big honchos, in, and yet I'll now share with you. But though it is not still official, they have a Pan IIT conference. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, certainly.
Every 3 years in America, where previously Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, all these big honchos, they in the Silicon Valley. So this time they are having in Long Beach, California. So they given me the IIT Impact Award.
Okay.
Now there's a very big honcho called Vinod Khosla. Have you heard his name?
No.
Vinod Khosla is one of the biggest, what is called the angel investor in Silicon Valley. So many things. So he's being given award, and I'm given award. I'm from rural India, so they appreciate now that the journey and etc. So as I said, my arrogance and my madness. Arrogance in the sense that I went to one of the best universities in the United States on solar energy, and I thought that I'll change India. India is a very ancient civilization. Gandhiji and all the big people in this country have not changed it. So who was I? But this arrogance was there. So India did not change; it changed me. And once I got hooked into the developing things, just it became a passion. So you have to have a madness to do something new. If you follow just the regular path, then the only way you can survive is get a bank job, and most of the youngsters do that. Safe bank job or government job, but you'll not do anything worthwhile in life. If you really want to do something worthwhile in life, you have to be very much mad, arrogant. So that is the only thing I can think. And
Right. So,
it is also possible. See, my father went to jail with Gandhiji, and I was always inspired by the great India's um, uh, freedom movement. And I think the biggest tragedy with the youngsters is that they don't know anything about India. You all learn through your WhatsApp University, which is so horrible, and all these things that are fed into you, which you just think as a final answer or truth, which is not the case. So read about this great country, read about its history, and then you will be invested into India. Then you will do something. So you do not know anything about India, and then the only thing you know is that the India is a horrible place. So let me get out of it. And so this is how it happens, and this continues. You will have children, and then you will say the same thing to your children. It's not a good thing. My daughter, I have two daughters. My youngest daughter had almost four fellowships from some of the best universities in America. She said, "Papa, I'm not going. This is my country." And she runs a small school here in Fulton. We started a school for themselves, for them, because there was no good schools. And she does wonderful work in creating very good videos, so many things. And last year, she was the only rural from rural India, the teacher, to be given the Distinguished Fulbright Award. So one can do things, one can achieve things. It's not necessary to be only staying in big cities that you think that you can achieve.
right. So one can do things, absolutely can do, but the problem which comes is difficulties within it. And even you are taking this decision in 1980s when most of the people are just running away to abroad. So I want to understand that was that decision difficult and how did it shape both of your life and your vision for India?
Nothing but see, the decision was, I do not know. When you have stupidity and arrogance, for example, when I came, Tata's, I went and met the right hand man of JRD Tata,
Okay.
Darbari said. And he said, there is a very big job for waiting for you in Tata Energy Research Institute. I said, no, I'll start my own small. And there was nothing here, it was a flat piece of land. I'll start something here and it should help. It was just a janoon. Janoon, when you have janoon, then you do things. If you all the time keep on thinking, "Arey, kya hoga, how will I survive?" And I refuse to take any money for this. Whatever, after all, how much you need? You have one shirt, one pant. We used to bicycle. Uh, After leaving everything, I had a lot of cars in America. I left everything and just bicycle. Never thought about. But mostly it was just the genoon to do something. How do we get into youngsters this genoon? All the time they keep on thinking about future, which they can neither predict. nor change, but all the time they are worried about this. You should all be invested in now. Do properly, do things now, do very ethical work now, and then you will change. This worry all the time of what will happen in future, this is really a sad thing. Hmm. Chalo. Next
Oh,
question.
all right. So coming back to the
Because
innovation,
the question you are asking me, I've been asked many many times all over the world, and that's the only thing I can explain. Otherwise, there is no. Now, sometimes I look back. I must have been a really foolish person to spend my those years in which, and I was a very great researcher. I was a very there were dozens of stories written on me, and they used to be in the front pages of Times of India, Indian Express when I was in America. And leaving everything and just jumping into this, it required some. That is a madness I would like to give to all the youngsters, because without madness, you'll all run away from this country. It's not a good thing.
so the next question I have, it's actually your experience in living rural area because you have been into US and now coming back to this area where most of the population are facing illiteracy. How does your experience, change, and how do you think that it has changed your perspective on science, problem solving, and creating practical solutions for the people?
Nothing but like, in fact, it has focused more and more, because you see, when I came, there used to be very few hours electricity. So I started reading under lanterns. And as a mechanical engineer, I said, this is a very stupid device. It hardly gives any light. Nothing has changed in the last 120 years. So I started studying the lantern very thoroughly. And I was very proud to say that we were the first people almost in the world after 120 years to redesign the lantern. And a lot of people in the and I looked at a lot of materials from the space program. This is 1980s, early 1980s, and the space department got very excited that our materials are going to be used in humble lantern, all sort of things. There's a lot of things written up in the newspapers about this thing. So basically, it is that after all the problems exist, you cannot live without. Now, I am doing all this in sitting in Fulton. The internet, the first internet when it came to Fulton, they came to my house because they knew. So they said, "Ki, sir, if you take this was a BSNL. It was used to be VSNL. If you take this, then and run it for 3 4 months, and if you're satisfied, then I'll give it. Then we'll give it to Fulton." So this is how it happened. So slowly, the things start happening. 1998, it came, and we started doing. Then this all this Geo came. Geo also was the first one to come to our institute. They set up whole this fiber almost 8 10 years ago, when fiber did not exist. So these things, do people come to know? They say that if we can show somebody like that, if it flies, then everybody else will take it. So this is how the march on evolution of technology takes place.
Let's
So more and more reason why we should have all these facilities for rural India, but more focused on how electricity will be produced here, so that after all, everything that we are using right now uses electricity. And we have to, even now, the LPG is gone, so people are using induction cookers, etc. They're all electric based. And if you can produce electricity in a renewable manner through biomass and solar, then there's no harm in using induction cooker. They are very efficient. These are the type of things that we need to always focus on. Ki how the best technology that the Western world or the people in the urban areas can have, how it can be spread in rural areas, because that is sometimes it is more efficient. But the main thing is that if electricity is going to produce in these big power plants running on coal and non-renewable, then it is not a very good thing. For example, how many of you run electric vehicles? Nobody uses. Anyway, Electric vehicles are increasing. And by the way, do you know that electric rickshaw? You've seen all this in Delhi. That is my design.
Wow.
So you have not done your homework. We are the inventors of electric rickshaw in the world. We had the first patent in 1997. And you go and read, in fact, in South Asia Monitor itself, there's a very big article on the untold story of electric rickshaw. So you read that. So the whole idea was that when we developed this electric rickshaw at the time, we did everything our own electric motors, the batteries, Indian batteries, and the idea was that we will charge it with renewable energy. And so if that happens, then the electric vehicles and electric technology becomes very good. But if we are going to charge with energy from power plants, then it is not a very good thing.
Well, it's so as you mentioned that you have developed electric rickshaws, you have also developed biomass gasifiers, ethanol solves as well. So which one best reflect your philosophy of simple, high impact innovation, and how does it help to shape the future of rural India?
See, all of them are useful for rural India. After all, that is why we developed it. We saw the problem in front and we solved it. For example, in Western Maharashtra, there is a very huge amount of sugarcane plantation. And after sugarcane is harvested, then the residue is left behind, which is basically means sugarcane leaves and other things. And the farmer wants his land to be developed again so that he can put a new crop. And so he has to remove all that residues. So it's a waste disposal problem. So what he does, he just puts a fire, so it pollutes the environment, and it's a great loss to the energy wise. So we were the first people in the world to develop a loose sugarcane leaves gasifier. And that was a direct reason why we saw the problem and how to solve it. And not only that, then I started thinking about it that how much residue is available in the taluka, and we developed the whole taluka biomass program. In fact, the all the biomass program of India came from my policy. I am the principal author of the policy. It was set up by Ministry of Non-Conventional Energy Sources in 1990s. So these are the things when you see the problem in front of you, and when you do a actual solution, then this can be taken up. And because of our work, all the talukas in the country were mapped on the biomass potential, and almost now 10 to 15,000 megawatt of power plants based on biomass have been put. How many of them working, I do not know, but this was the thing that started. So all the problems, all the solutions that I have listed that you talked about, they are all the product of the what we see in front. And if we can solve them, some we have been able. For example, alcohol. We When I came, there was no electricity, so we started work on lanterns. But then I found out that it was very smelly because of kerosene.
Yeah.
So I said, Can I have a fuel that I can produce myself?" So that is how we developed the ethanol. We were the pioneers of ethanol from sweet sorghum in this country. In fact, sweet sorghum was introduced in India by our institute. And then we developed this ethanol stoves and lanterns, which again became the pioneering work all over the world because nobody had talked about cooking and lighting on ethanol. And so we developed all those technologies because they were right in front, the problems existed, and we worked on them.
Yeah, so the next question is mostly on us, that many of young people like us think today that success may be measured by money, status, and global recognition. So, did you ever struggle with this idea, and how did your own definition of success evolve with working for rural development?
See, if I had worried about that, I would have never worked here because I would have always been thinking about my career. And when I came back, already my university was telling me because I was on the faculty of University of Florida. I taught there for 2.5 years, and they were always telling me, why don't you come back? What the hell are you doing there? And rural India. But the question is that the problems exist in, you should have the desire to change things. And if you do, you have the honest desire to change things, all these things don't matter. And slowly, 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 you build up things. Now, everybody um, thinks that what we have done is something worthwhile. So that security youngsters should have, and that is what bothers me, that security they don't have. They all the time keep on worrying about money, etc. Money will come. You need to all the time think about how you can help, how you can solve the problems, no matter where you are. It is not necessary to come like what I did. You are staying in urban India. There are so many problems around you. The moment you take out your scooter, the big gaddhas, all sort of things. By the time you reach your office or your college, you're so tired. Have you thought about why? And then you start thinking about what can be done. Don't think about what the municipality can do. After all, you all live in Delhi. Some of my classmates, who have made a lot of money, they live in this most the poshest locality in Gurgaon. So I went there. These are gated communities, and they feel very proud to be living there. And they think that I am a very poor person living in an urban rural area. So everything is there. But to reach that gated community, you go through hell. And I said, what a stupid mentality. You spend so much money in building these fancy your communities. They have these huge houses. Why don't you spend some little bit money to improve the roads? So they tell me, no, 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 this is a municipality's business. This is a tragedy. There's so much money in this country that if the people really decide to do things with that money, a lot of things can happen. Why do you have to depend all the time on the government or the municipality or etc.? This is just my 2 pence.
So I actually had one question.
हाँ बोलो हिंदी हिंदी बोलो
It's यस सर लाइक आपने इतने सालों में जो भी काम किया है रूरल डेवलपमेंट को लेके आपको उसमें से क्या कोई भी एक ऐसी लाइक कभी ऐसा फील हुआ है कि इज देयर समथिंग अर्जेंट व्हिच इज नीडेड टू बी डन फॉर रूरल इंडिया और एनी अर्जेंट चैलेंज व्हिच रूरल एरिया लाइक एरियाज आर फेसिंग इन इंडिया?
हर चैलेंज ही अर्जेंट है यार उन बेचारे इंडिया किसानों की तुम वो सुनो दुनिया भर की बात करते हैं किसान जो है वो तुमने कभी करा नहीं होगा खेती अगर तुम कैलकुलेशन करो तो नो टाइम विल यू बी एबल टू हैव प्रॉफिट फ्रॉम योर फार्म अब वो देखो उसकी मानसिक मतलब कि थिंकिंग वो खाली उसको अनाज मिल जाता है वो अपने घर के लिए कल रख लेता है थोड़ा बहुत पैसा मिल गया जो कि यूज कर लेता है एंड दैट इज ऑल सो दीज आर ऑल वेरी वेरी अर्जेंट थिंग्स उसकी जो बाकी ज़रूरतें हैं वो पूरी नहीं होती हैं बच्चे जो हैं वो दिन रात जो है वो मोबाइल देखते हैं सब करते हैं तो उनकी जो है एस्पिरेशंस बहुत बढ़ गए हैं एंड दे गेट इनटू ऑल सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स एंड देन ही हैज टू हेल्प देम यहाँ पर जो बहुत से सुसाइड्स हुए हैं फार्मर्स में इट इज नॉट बिकॉज कि उनकी क्रॉप्स फेल कर गई हैं उनके बच्चों की एस्पिरेशंस इतनी बढ़ गई हैं कि दे गो एंड टेक लोन्स एंड दे कैन नॉट पे द लोन्स और उसका निजाले जो जिनसे लोन लिया है उनके गुंडे आकर उनको परेशान करते हैं ये लोग सोचते नहीं है कि जो सुसाइड्स हैं दे नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ द आफ्टर ऑल इस देश में बहुत सालों से हजारों सालों से अकाल सब चलता रहता था suicides were not part of the Indian culture because we were so much involved in our कि भाई जो भी हुआ ये अच्छे के लिए हुआ भगवान की मर्जी थी मतलब there was a tremendous number of things by which they could rationalize अब जो rationalization mechanism है वो खत्म हो चुका है तो ये चीज तो हर चीज जो है वो अर्जेंट है there is no such thing as कि कोई अर्जेंट नहीं है उनकी। और ये है कि इसीलिए मैं ये कह रहा हूँ तुम लोगों से कि जो भी हम डेवलपमेंट मॉडल देखें वो ये सोच के देखें कि भाई उनकी जो भी मन की शांति, स्टिल उनकी मन की शांति क्यों, बिकॉज इन बहुत बहुत कम ही चीजों में वो सेटिस्फाई हो जाते हैं। तुम लोगों को ये नहीं होगा, वो नहीं होगा, तो तुम सेटिस्फाई नहीं होगी। दे गेट सेटिस्फाइड क्वाइट इजिली। वी शुड बी लुकिंग एट द मन की शांति, प्लस वी शुड प्रोवाइड देम विद ऑल द बेसिक नेसेसिटीज ऑफ लाइफ। उसमें क्या बड़ी बड़ी वाली बात है। यहाँ पर इतने रिच लोग हैं इस देश में, अगर हम मैं नहीं कहता कि वो गरीब हो जाए, लेकिन ये है कि जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ है दैट शुड बी लिटिल मोर इक्विटेबल। मैं नहीं चाहता कि वो लोग गरीब हो जाए, लेकिन मैं ही चाहता हूँ कि जो गरीब है वो थोड़ा अमीर हो जाए।
So
हाँ।
I have question from there,
हाँ।
and even if we try to talk about this, whole spectrum of rich and poor thing,
हम्म।
that does sounds more like a idealistic rather than practical in terms of. So even as a youngster, when we try to think about a change, or even because we all study somehow political science, and there we come across the term democracy at a larger front. And then we see the structure of politics which we are having in India, and we see the people of India which are voting totally basis on their narrative or whatever the narrative IT cells are handling. So how do you think that we can make an impact, or how do we sustain that motivation or that passion within ourselves that we want to change something? Because somehow we know कि जो भी हम चेंज करेंगे वो एक बहुत ही लिमिटेड स्केल में हो पाएगा, सपोजिंगली हमारी कम्युनिटी में होगा या हमारे अराउंड के एरिया में होगा, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द इंडियन पॉपुलेशन somehow we feel discouraged how people are thinking. Or even if we try to do something, there are people who comes to you who says that you are doing this as a wrong way or you are being too much idealistic. So this is something that how we can
नहीं,
navigate.
देखो देखो, हर हर हम भी जब यंग थे तो हम भी आइडियलिस्ट थे। हम भी सब चीजें सोचते थे, और आईआईटीज में तो हम लोग बहुत डिस्कस करते थे। क्वेश्चन बात क्या है कि पहली चीज तो ये है कि अपना आइडियलिज्म खोना नहीं चाहिए।
Hmm.
सबसे बड़ी ट्रेजेडी होगी कि जिस दिन तुमने अपना आइडियलिज्म खो दिया, समझे ना, देन यू विल बिकम लाइक अ वेजिटेबल।
Hmm.
और एम्पैथी और आइडियलिज्म जो है दैट शुड रिमेन। नाउ द सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज, जैसे मैंने बताया कि गांधी जी और जैसे मैंने किया, तुम अपनी चारों तरफ जो भी चीजें हैं, डोंट थिंक अबाउट द बिगर पिक्चर, यू थिंक अबाउट हाउ कैन यू चेंज इन स्मॉल वे। और जब तुम स्मॉल वे में चेंज करना शुरू करोगे तो धीरे धीरे सब चीजें चेंज हो जाएंगी। और मेन चीज क्या है कि हाउ दैट कैन ओनली हैपन व्हेन यू आर इन्वेस्टेड इन द स्टोरी ऑफ इंडिया। अगर तुम्हें लगता है हमेशा कि अरे यहाँ से भाग जाना चाहिए, वो वही हो गया ना कि तुम आहुति नहीं बनना चाहते, तुम भागना चाहते हो। आहुति मतलब कि बहुत रिक्वायर्स अ ग्रेट करेज। आफ्टर ऑल, जब हमारी इंडिपेंडेंस की वॉर हुई, दो तीन लोग थे, भगत सिंह, ये सब जिन्होंने थे, दे बिकेम शहीद। They also fired the imagination, but ultimately it was Gandhi's greatness when he took everybody. क्योंकि अगर ये हम भगत सिंह और इन सब लोगों के साथ जाते तो there would have been a lot of violence. गांधी जी जो ग्रेटनेस थी वो ये थी कि भाई वायलेंस जो है वो यंग लोगों को बहुत उत्तेजित करता है, वो दे फील वेरी बैड, बट दैट इज नॉट द आंसर। सो ऑल ऑफ अस शुड थिंक अबाउट फ्रॉम दिस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू कि वी शुड हैव दिस एज अ नॉन वायलेंट but a very higher thought. How do we change the India? How do we take India back from all these uh, kacham? That is all. Don't lose your idealism. और जो भी तुम जहां भी कर रहे हो, बिकॉज जब जब तुम प्रॉपरली एथिकल काम करना शुरू करते हो, बहुत अड़चन आएंगी। मैं तुम्हें सुनाना शुरू करूँ तो पूरी गीता ही सुना दूंगा, जो मेरी हाउ मच आई टू। लेकिन ये है कि ऑलवेज दिस फीलिंग वाज देयर कि भाई देयर इज अ बिगर थिंग दैट आई वन कैन स्ट्राइव फॉर। और ये अड़चनें अपने आप चली जाती हैं। एंड लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स आई हैव आल्सो फाउंड व्हेन यू आर वेरी ऑनेस्ट, when you are want to do something worthwhile, जो लोग गुंडे भी हैं वो भी फील करते हैं यार यार ये कुछ करना चाहता है, लड़का है लड़की, एंड दे ट्राई टू हेल्प यू। इट हैज हैपेंड मेनी टाइम्स इन माय लाइफ। तो ये चीज जो है, देखो, गुंडे के साथ तुम गुंडागर्दी करोगे तो वो फौरन समझता है हाउ टू रिएक्ट। गुंडे के साथ तुम अगर बहुत हायर वैल्यू दिखाते हो, ट्रीटमेंट देते हो, ही डज नॉट नो हाउ टू रिएक्ट। एंड दैट वाज द ग्रेटनेस ऑफ गांधी जी। गांधी जी had fought with the same manner as a ब्रिटिश वाला तो सब जानते थे, उनका पूरा फोर्स लगता। They did not know how to react with a non-violent guy. उनको साले उनको जेल में डाल दिया, तो जेलर की उन्होंने चप्पल बना दी. नाउ व्हाट विल जेलर थिंक? ये सोचो ना, जो तुम्हें गुंडागर्दी कर रहा है तुम्हारे साथ उसको. एंड द सेम थिंग नेल्सन मंडेला फॉलोड. ही रोट दैट दिस इज व्हाट गांधी जी टॉट अस. सो हर एक के शरीर में दिल होता है, कितना ही कठोर क्यों ना हो. तुम अपना अच्छा काम करोगे, पीपल कम एंड हेल्प यू. और उसके लिए हौसला चाहिए.
So there comes the money aspect that you want to earn money, you want a decent life at the same time because what happens generally that what you
तो
know
हाउ
the
डू यू डिजाइन हाउ डू यू डिफाइन अ डिसेंट लाइफ? यार ये बताओ मुझे.
so
तुम एक
decent life where we are earning money and we are able to live
तुम
a
कुछ कुछ
sustainable
खाओगे,
life.
कुछ चपाती खाओगे, कुछ का. डू यू नो हाउ मच यू ईट पर सिटिंग?
Yeah, certainly.
ये भी नहीं देखा होगा तुमने. 250-200 ग्राम से ज्यादा तो खाते नहीं हो.
Okay.
और ऑल द टाइम यू आर कीप ऑन थिंकिंग. तुम एक बुशर्ट पहनोगे, एक पैंट पहनोगे. व्हाई डू यू हैव 100 बुशर्ट्स, 100 पैंट्स? दिस इज ऑल इनसिक्योरिटी.
Somehow.
बेसिकली क्या है कि यू हैव नेवर डिफाइंड, यू हैव नेवर looked upon this thing very very seriously and very sincerely. तुम्हारे दोस्त ने कहा, अरे रे तुम्हारे पास ये भी नहीं है, ये भी नहीं है बस. और दिल्ली में तो बहुत चलता है, दिल्ली में खाली यही चलता है. तुम्हारी ये भी नहीं है, तुम्हारी क्या क्या घटिया साला पुरानी. मेरी वॉच जो है 1985 की वॉच है, सिटीजन वॉच. इट गिव्स मी टाइम. बड़ी भारी क्या बात हो गई? एप्पल वॉच, ये वॉच. पर्सपेक्टिव इन लाइफ. इफ यू हैव अ पर्सपेक्टिव इन लाइफ, nothing will bother you, or at least very few things will bother you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Actually, you have mentioned Gandhi quite a times in your discussion. So I need to ask that his basic idea of village development that he followed was through self-sufficient villages, right? Autonomous villages. But sir, right now is the age, like what I feel is that right now is the age of complex interdependence, right? Uh, we depend on one, we give them, we take things from them. There's this idea of strategic autonomy when we, talk about the world or at the national level also. So do you think so that this idea has become redundant now, or there should be a recalibrated approach for village development?
देखो, तुमने गांधी जी के बारे में कितना पढ़ा है? नहीं पढ़ा हो ज्यादा. रीड माई राइटिंग्स, आई हैव रिटन एक्सटेंसिवली ऑन गांधी जी. देखो ऐसा होता है कि जब कोई ग्रेट पर्सनैलिटी आती है, दे आर वेरी मल्टी डायमेंशनल एंड दे आर वेरी डीप थिंकर्स. उस जमाने में जो गांधी जी थे, उस जमाने में विलेज इकोनॉमी वाज वेरी वेरी आइसोलेटेड. उसमें यही था कि कुल्हाड़ था, क्या कहते हैं, और ये कारपेंटर था. ये सब जो थे ये अपने आप बनाते रहते थे चीजें, और रोजमर्रा की चीजें बन जाती थी. गांधी वॉज अ वेरी रिमार्केबल मैन. अगर वो आज होता तो जो तुम बात कर रही हो, ही वुड हैव फॉलोड दैट. एंड आई हैव रिटन आर्टिकल्स ऑन दिस. He would have talked about 3D manufacturing because he wanted decentralization. Decentralization is a very, very fantastic process, and the nature is decentralized. Template कहीं से बनती है, लेकिन वो पेड़ जो है वो कोई आता है, they communicate, but they are all decentralized. तो इसलिए जो है ये सब चीजें जो है, he always said about decentralization. It is just that he said कि I do not want the electricity to be produced in Bombay and shipped to Wardha. उस जमाने में ये होता था. There were no small decentralized plants. If they were, he would have accepted them. तो क्वेश्चन बात का है कि we should not become another Taliban. तालिबान में क्या है कि जो लिख दिया बस वही रहेगा. We should all change with times. The idea is how do we do this more efficiently and effectively to help the population and the people. तो कोई भी चीज जो है, अब आफ्टर ऑल मोबाइल देखो देखो, तुम्हें ये भी नहीं मालूम होगा, दुनिया भर के लोग बात करते हैं, व्हाट्सएप में आता है. गांधी वॉज एन इंजीनियर. Gandhi was a user of all technologies. जब टेलीफोन नहीं था, तुम कभी वर्धा गई हो उसके आश्रम में? 1930s में there was a direct hotline from ashram to the viceroy. वो थोड़ी मुफ्त में आती. He used to travel in trains. He had all the he used all the technologies. But since he identified with the poorest of Indians, so he said, "Yeah, I have to live like that." But if all these things were available at the time, I'm sure he would have. uh, क्योंकि बहुत सी चीजें उसने जो थी, तुम्हें शायद मालूम नहीं होगा कि that was the only time he set up a whole committee on find out about गुड़. गुड़ is a very great thing. And उसमें दो नोबेल लॉरियट्स थे, एक सीवी रमन और रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर. Never in the history of India there were two Nobel laureates in any committee. Only purpose ये था कि what are the good things about gold and how we can make gold very effectively, very efficiently and very reasonably priced. तो ये सब चीजें थी. वो तो ये था कि the main focus was on getting independence, but he also had this development work which was going side by side, but limited by, because all of them are prisoners of time, their time. तो वो जो है, but their thinking is so amazing because they know that if something like this happen, it will be taken up and useful. तो गांधी जी के जो बेसिक जैसी किसी भी, वही तो है ना, सोचने की ढंग होता है. रिमूव ऑल द यूजलेस थिंग्स एंड लुक एट द बेसिक फंडामेंटल आइडियाज ऑफ अ पर्सन, चाहे गांधी हो, मार्क्स हो, कोई भी हो, and then see how you can utilize that in the present context. Mani, answer हो गया question?
Yes, sir, that answers my question well. But also, sir, if you're talking about Gandhi and village, let's bring in one more perspective here. Sir, to this, to his ideology, one of the most important critique was of Ambedkar.
Hmm.
He had definitely questioned his approach of village development, saying that mostly the social evils lie in village centric society. The if we talk about the caste discrimination, or definitely we also see that the level of anonymity that exists in cities is very much different than that what exists in the villages. So what do you think? Like, obviously that time was different. Has Indian villages evolved through that disadvantageous set right now? And like, if not, then what can be the solutions to that?
देखो ऐसा है कि ये सी विलेजेस, ये सब चीजें जो हैं, these are all like a हवा में a human being, उसकी जरूरतें होती हैं कुछ. देयर इज नो, अगर मैं तुम्हारी ये ना पढ़ूं तो मैं नहीं कहूंगा कि तुम रस्तोगी हो, तुम ये हो वो. फ्रॉम द फेस कुछ नहीं मालूम पड़ता है. एवरीबडी इज लुकिंग फॉर हाउ टू इम्प्रूव द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ. ये जो गंदे पॉलिटिशियंस होते हैं, अगर ये हम अपना सबको हम ये फोकस करते हैं कि भी सबको धंधा दो, सबको जो है उनकी इम्प्रूव करें, तो ऑल दिस कास्ट सिस्टम एवरीथिंग वुड जस्ट डाई डाउन. ये मंडल कमीशन, ये सब जो है, दिस ऑल दैट केम, जिससे चीजें बढ़ाते हो, क्योंकि ब्रिटिशर्स ने भी ये किया था, डिवाइड एंड रूल. शुल्क कास्ट को अलग बना दो, मुसलमानों को अलग कर दो. गांधी जी ने 1920s में कहा कि हम लोग कोई डिफरेंट नहीं है, वी आर ऑल सेम. ये तो यही करते थे. हमारे जब फादर जेल में गए, उनके सारे जेलर्स थे मुसलमान थे. पर्पसली वो करते थे. जहाँ हिंदूज हैं उनको उनके सब वो. तो ये चीजें जो हैं, ये हम ही लोग करते हैं टू कंट्रोल. हम ही लोग करते हैं टू कंट्रोल, डिवाइड, रूल. अगर इफ यू रियली लुक, मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ, तुम लोग यंग हो, फ्यूचर ऑफ इस देश के. इफ यू ओनली लुक फॉर हाउ डू वी इम्प्रूव द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ, हाउ डू वी डू हेल्प द पीपल, ऑल दीज थिंग्स वैनिश. तुम अगर किसी का नाम नहीं पूछो, इसलिए जो है बहुत सी जगह दे डोंट राइट देयर लास्ट नेम. कुछ का नाम नहीं पूछो, कुछ ना करो, तो अपने आप मालूम पड़ जाता है कि भाई कोई वो नहीं, दे ऑल सेम. किसी का रंग तो, खून का रंग तो मैंने आज तक हरा नहीं देखा, किसी का खून का रंग कुछ और नहीं देखा है. एवरीथिंग इज सेम. व्हाई डू वी क्रिएट these divisions? It's just to control. And for youngsters, this is the most important thing, that if we fall in this trap, of divisions, then this will be very sad.